A house are a band who have gone through the various stages of a musical career, from an early musical interest to forming a band and writing and recording as professional musicians. This is the story of a career in music, how to be a pop star.
So how do you get started in the music industry? What equipment do you need? And how do you get people to take you seriously?
We ourselves started with myself and Ferg banging on biscuit tins to ABBA records. And that's basically where it started, you know. So, and then Ferg learned how to play the guitar. And that was our biggest mistake ever.
It doesn't have to be ABBA records, though. It could be anything, really. I mean, you just need something to make a noise with, as a background to your own noise.
It doesn't matter what the noise is, really, does it? You know, once it's pleasing to you at the time.
Once it's a noise.
It's very easy to please a 14-year-old, you know. If you can drum out anything on a biscuit tin, it's pretty good, you know.
It's nearly in time, it's good.
So then, as we say, Ferg got a guitar then, and then that was the end of it, really, you know. Yeah. We were all very young, weren't we? Like, it was just a whole lot of friends, and we just started it, because basically we weren't sporty type people, you know. So we decided that, well, I was initially the drummer with the biscuit tins, Ferg was a guitarist, John, our manager, he was the singer, like, all those years ago. Then I started singing because he hadn't a note at all, like. And then, what happened after that, Ferg? You stuck on the guitar, yeah, you were pretty solid. I've been everything, I've been a bass player, you know, I've been pretty much a prostitute in the band.
I had a single vision. I have a single vision in my life.
Yeah, well, I've tried my hand at everything and ended up singing, you know.
So having formed a loose association of friends who spend the weekends performing the popular hits of the day, what spurs you on to greater feats of artistic endeavour? In other words, how do you start writing your own songs?
Shortly after the ABBA covers, I think we went through the classic suicide death phase of every 14-year-old.
I mean, you've got to write about doom and gloom, haven't you? You know, because that's what everyone else is writing about. Well, at least that's what you think they're writing about, anyway. I mean, that's what you think where it's at, you know. That's the cool thing to do, is to write songs that are called suicide, you know. I mean, I think every 14 and 15-year-old band has a song called Suicide. I mean, we certainly had. I mean, it was garbage, you know. And then after that, you know, you start writing different songs, and you grow up a little bit, you know. You try to be more mature, you know, and say, well, this suicide stuff isn't really working, this doom and gloom, you know. I mean, people don't want to come along to a gig and listen to about all that kind of stuff. So then I always had this problem with writing love songs, you know. I always had this really big thing, you know, that I could never actually say, I love you, Ferg, in a song to anyone. So it was the first sign of me saying anything to anyone was, I'll always be grateful, and that was like a tribute to my parents, and that was as much as I could say that I love you, you know, to anyone, ever. And then it was, of course, My Little Lighthouse, which was a love song to my girlfriend, and I couldn't even say, I mean, this is a girl that I've gone on for years, and I couldn't even say that I love you in the song, and I had to finish off the last line and say, I think I could like you, so.
Two key phrases in the vocabulary of any aspiring musician are demo and A&R man, or woman. The A&R man or woman is employed by the record company to recruit new talent. A stands for artist, R stands for repertoire. They are very important people.
But what is a demo?
A demo is something you make so you can send it to people who couldn't be bothered to come and see you live in the first place. People like sort of journalists and things who will never go out and sort of see people they've never heard of before. So you put your sort of supposedly your best songs on it.
Yeah, the theory goes that, you know, you put your best 3 songs on it because, like, lazy A&R men only find time to listen to 3, you know. And there's a really big theory about it, you know. Your first is your most commercial, you know, and then your second is maybe a slow song, you know, that might just soothe the beast, you know, and then your third song then, of course, is something really commercial, you know. Which is, I mean, to me, it's totally nonsensical, you know. I mean, A&R people, it's their job to find bands. I mean, what they don't realise is that they need bands as much as bands need record companies. And I mean, so if someone does send in a tape of 10 songs, they should sit down and listen to it, because that's their job. Their job is to find new talent, you know. But they put young bands making demo tapes under such a compliment, you know, and make them feel so inferior about sending in these songs that, you know, you're almost like putting your whole life on the line by sending in this demo tape, and you feel really awkward about it, you know. But if only these people realise that, you know, that the band is the future of music, you know, and that's not the record company. And that music, obviously, is the future of music, you know, it's sounding too obvious.
So got a band together, and you've started getting gigs. You've begun to court the record companies. Watch part 2 and discover what it's like to make the big time, and end up getting the bus home.
What a great world we all live in. Even better, what a time to be here.
Now you're...
Dreams are born. Here in Lytton Lane, a house rehearsed their new set, and we continue our story of a musical career, of how the fantasy of being a pop star became a reality that didn't necessarily match the dream. In part 1, we heard how our aspiring musicians learned to play on biscuit tins and did ABBA impersonations. They progressed to writing and performing their own material, and were hungry for a break.
Ultimately, everyone is looking for a contract with a major record label. The big time. But is it the promised land?
Everyone, yeah, is looking for a major record contract. When we signed ours, we thought it'd be, we knew all the pitfalls of it. Well, we thought we knew all the pitfalls of signing a major record contract, but we thought we had it all, like, stuff, because we had, like, control and everything. But I mean, after sort of
A week.
I was going to say a month. But after a week, you kind of realise that what you thought was what you had total control, you haven't really.
No, I would advise people like our bands not to go like hunting for like a major deal. I mean, at the time when we signed to Warner Brothers, it was the perfect deal for us, wasn't it? You know, I mean, and like every band, when you sign to a record company, you know, you're band of the month for that month, you know, and then they sign you for whatever reason. With us, it was 2 songs, "Call Me Blue" and "I'll Always Be Grateful," you know. And then, of course, when "Call Me Blue" wasn't a hit, and it wasn't our fault that it wasn't a hit, it was actually their fault. Like, obviously, you know, they say it's our fault, but I mean, the truth of the matter is it's theirs.
Yeah.
And like "Call Me Blue," apart from just being anything, it was actually a good song as well. So, I mean, they spent the money on recording it, you know. I mean, and then when it came to like doing videos and stuff like that, you know, it was all like penny pinching here, and then, like, which is crazy, you know. I mean, if you're going to promote any product, you know, you've got to like really go for it in a big way.
On the TV, on the radio, turn it up now, cause that don't turn up no. We need common ears, we need shower fears, confess all to Hollywood.
Initially, when we signed, obviously, we were over the moon about the whole affair. It was absolutely fabulous, you know. And we were getting like these amazing photographers in, like Andy Catlin and all these people, like, you know. And nothing was good enough, you know. And we had these stylists in. We went to this meeting once of this fashion guy came along with this clothes designer came along to design us, you know, us. And there we were, and we were just so excited about this whole affair. We ended up looking like a bunch of pansies. It was dreadful, yeah. Because, like, the idea of getting these free clothes was amazing, yeah. And these, like, really naff waistcoats, you know, and jeans, you know. And we were told if we liked them, we could keep them, you know. Remember that? Yeah. Oh, it's fabulous. I mean, this is in the boardroom of Warner Brothers, you know. We're talking to the director of Warner Brothers, you know. And we're running around like a bunch of, like, 12-year-old, like, really excited children with all these really naff clothes. And then we went along to Andy Catlin, and he had this, like, this makeup artist, you know, and we all looked about 12.
Total waste of money.
We looked like an ugly, wet, you know. So it just wasn't us at all, like, so we had to scrap that whole session, hadn't we? You know, we had to, like, get a photographer that would make us look like, you know, like human beings, you know, because, like, we certainly weren't, like, going to be the next wet, you know, because, I mean, Call Me Blue may have been a commercial single, but I mean, what about the rest of the album, you know, like Violent Love, you know, like, which is a bit wife-beating and stuff, you know, and so, I mean, which is a topical song, so, I mean, obviously, if we look like that and we're singing songs about that, you know, there's something very wrong, isn't there, you know?
Despite the handicaps of being an ugly wet, and singing songs about marital violence, the band were honoured in the 1989 Irma Awards.
All right, I'll make this very quick. Is this the right microphone, Jerry? Yeah, okay. I'll make this very quick. I've got to open this and give it to the best new act. And the winner is... A House.
Star status has many attractions, and the rewards for commercial success are infinite. But when A House realised they were more than mere pop idols and wanted to explore their music, the music biz machine reacted.
The classic case is when we won the Irma Awards, you know, we won Best Irish Band. I mean, we're talking like serious treatment here, you know. We're talking like limousines pick us up at the house, and these people were hard. Whatever we wanted to do with these limousines, we could do so. And then a big meal, champagne, the works, you know. I mean, the following year, this is like the next Irma Awards, like when we just finished recording I Want To, which was our second album, you know. It was like, you know, we didn't win any awards, you know, so like we had to get the bus out. You know? So we got the bus there, you know. We had to try and bum a lift home.
Well, it's a long way back to the daydream of fame. The band have been there and done that. Dropped by their big label bosses, where do the band go from here? Do they play on, or do they pack it in and get real jobs?
A lot of people say to you, you know, why do you... So now that, you know, now that you finished with Warner Brothers, you know, is that it, like, you know? I mean, this is obviously like a silly question to ask anyone that's a musician, you know? I mean, obviously, I was reading there recently, like, that 80% of bands break up because they lose their deal, you know? I mean, I think, obviously, these people that finish with a record company, like, if they break up after that, they weren't really a musician at all. They were just in it for the whole thing of being in a band, like, the glory of it, you know, or whatever, and having gigs here and gigs there. I mean, they're not. I mean, we're musicians, you know. That's what we do. You know, we make music, we make records, and that's what we're going to do.
We didn't form this band to sign to Warner. So,
no, I mean.
So when they drop it, there's no reason like we should. It's just like they were giving us money for a while.
We're just going to keep making records until we die.
Keep doing what we do.
Basically, and see what happens when we're dead. We'll probably become very famous.
Yeah.
Well, A House definitely have a good long life ahead of them yet. Since the success of their last EP, Doodle, and the subsequent Irish tour, they've gone from strength to strength and are now working on their third album.